Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Funky Marketing Podcast. This time we have a special edition and something new. I just called it Funky Roundtable, but it's basically three friends drinking coffee, tea, and talking about the stuff that are on top of their minds. And without further introduction, Amir Pasha, welcome to the podcast.
Awesome. It's great to be here.
Yeah,
Thanks, Nemanja.
thanks for agreeing to doing this thing with me. I think it the whole space, LinkedIn space, and especially the Funky Marketing Podcast needed a bit of entertainment, right? So and that was kind of my idea of entertainment. But um, let's introduce you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Go, Pasha.
All right, cool. So I'm Pasha Irshad. You might know me from LinkedIn, you might not. I've taken a few hiatuses this year. Yes, probably 16, 17 years in really B2B marketing, and I am a co-founder of a consultancy called Shape and Scale. We are a HubSpot Gold partner, revenue operations shop, and B2B technology PR. So it's myself and my co-founder, Suzanne Block. Been in business close to 3 years, and looking forward to chatting today.
Love it. I mean, guys, if you don't know, like Pasha is the HubSpot guy on LinkedIn. So sharing a lot of nice things, and I think I'm saving a lot of your posts. So it means that that's actually a good stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Been following you for a long time. Probably one of the first people I followed when I got on here
Nice.
many
It,
moons
it makes
ago.
me feel old.
Yeah, trust me, I'm probably as old as you. So,
No. I mean, when it comes to the platform, right?
well, that might be a plus. Seen it all.
Who knows? And Amir is. I got introduced to you by Juliana, if I'm not
Yes.
wrong, and say like Amir is the product guy, but tell me what you actually are.
So I've been into different things. I used to do design way back, but then got into project management for a while. And I did customer success for a company doing enterprise stuff, and that was fun. In the past 3 years, it's been mostly GTM and AI stuff. So I've been focusing on lot on AI research and consulting. I didn't intend to get into that, but it was fun. But again, that's where I am at now. And as you said, it's LinkedIn. That's how I met you through Juliana. I know she says her name with a Y, with the JY
Juliana,
thing.
yeah.
So, but that's fun, and that's how I met Pasha as well. And we became really good friends, as have you. So for me, it's all about finding people who speak their mind and speak the truth, right? As we were sharing earlier, there's a lot of, I don't like the term fakeness, but it's more of influencering, and people just aren't what they seem. So when I find the right people, when I find good people, I tend to respect their opinions, and I tend to listen to them and get feedback from them and learn from them. And that's where I guess I'm at these days.
Yeah, but I think you are the clear definition of the person who implements the mission of LinkedIn, right? Connect the world's professional and make them more productive and successful. Basically, that's it.
It, you know, dark social was being harped around for so long. But then beyond LinkedIn, there are so many channels where we make these introductions and connect people to each other. So when you arrive at the world beyond LinkedIn, I think that's when you start knowing people and have that networking capability. LinkedIn is probably the first step to being authentic and getting to know people. That initial phase in networking. I heard so many DMs recently. Hey, you like clay, so let's connect. And I'm like, dude, I don't even use clay. Why the hell are you reaching out to me?
Yeah,
I saw you
I think
liked,
we all know that. Yeah, we all had those kind of situations.
but anyway, go
Yeah,
on.
I think it happens when there's a new tool, new software, whatever it is, especially when it's connected to the platform that people assume that we all use it, and to kind of
It's not just assuming, right? Many of these tools pick out what posts or what reactions you've been giving to others. So they might have seen me interact with someone else's post, and there was you interacted with X's post. They might have seen a comment, but I'll also comment on friends' posts, like yours, crickets, for example, Anemania. Hey man, I hear crickets, and that was so funny to me. Hey man, I've been talking about B2B and all I get is crickets, and I had that grasshopper symbol. And but that's how you know people. But I'm being friends with you there. It's not necessarily something that we are. But and that's the way these AI tools work, right? They'll pick up on these signals, and then people assume, and they don't even know you. They'll just put you into a batch and then send off these automated signals, and then, hey man, I saw you commented on X's post and good stuff. And like, screw you, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think personalization is probably one of the worst
Mhm.
things that ever happened to marketing. I think I commented on somebody's post the other day. It's like calling it a personalization token is just a fallacy. You know, it's like, hey, first name.
Yeah.
Personalization really doesn't mean shit in today's marketplace, because the way it's defined is just, it's really not personalization as much as it is just like a match on one of your identifiers. So without relevancy, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I totally agree. And now you both reminded me of a thing. Usually when I look at those, like LinkedIn now gives us the kind of like try to make it a gaming thing. How many posts you liked, how many actions did you take, those kind of things, right? And when I go and look at it, what I did yesterday, for example, as you said, I mean, like interacting with people, just being human, right? And I saw 80 actions, and then somebody comes and say, "Hey, man, you like this post?" Like 3 weeks ago, I did what? Like I did 80 things in a day, right? So I have no idea what you're talking about. But also personalization. I mean, it doesn't mean just inserting different information based on whom you're sending an email, a message, whatever it is. It means different things.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, whenever I get an email that says like, "Hey, I saw you commented," I just delete it right away. That's a great way to get me to delete your email. And I don't knock people, man. I mean, everybody has their own pressures and their own role and have to do what they have to do. But that being said, yeah, to me, that's just I'll never click on that email.
Yeah.
Um,
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
go
Go
on.
ahead. Go ahead. I mean,
And I hate to say this, but it's kind of laziness, right? When you want to do things in bulk and you don't bother to know the person. Sam McKenna does this really well with her "Show Me You Know Me" stuff. I'm not sure if you know her, but she's a wonderful salesperson. She does a lot of LinkedIn stuff as well. So she coined this term "Show Me You Know Me." That is, you need to follow, react, and comment, and talk to people before you start DMing them or asking for favors, even because I've seen that happen as well. So it's problematic with sales, right? As Pasha said, you got these targets and you got the CRO and VP of sales and everyone breathing down your neck. But outbound is broken. You can't just use those old methods and say, it's going to work. It's just not going to work.
there is one thing. It can work if that person is actually very much active on social, on podcast, whatever it is, and you get the data, right? But a lot of C-level people, especially older ones, are not active. So you get just generic things, right? And you can never guess. Like people who do the outreach, they don't go to Instagram and check if that lady Mary from that agency actually likes wine, right? They don't do that. But it's just like it takes three more clicks to find out those things. For example, for me, it's you go on Twitter, you see that I shit a lot about NBA basketball and whatever it is, right? Those kind of stuff. I share some of them to LinkedIn, but other people don't. They talk only about business. They talk on other platforms about other stuff. So it's not that simple. But also, what I dislike is when senior people try to teach others how to do the outreach, And so they tell him, go ahead and say that me, your CEO, actually told you to do this, right? And they say, hey, man, I got a message like Max, my CEO, told me to reach out to you. And then they come out to somebody like me who gets annoyed at that moment. Because I don't know who you are, I don't know who Max is. And I take a screenshot of that and I post it, right? And then they start commenting, and then Max actually introduces himself and says, "Hey, man, that's how I teach. That guy was the new guy. He was just learning how to do it." I said, "That's not my fault." Right?
Yeah.
So those kind of things. But Pasha, Amir and I were talking, and we mentioned events, those kind of things, because I was on a lot of conferences here in the region, and you were on some of in the States. And he says, like, I said something, he said, like, Pasha told me the same thing over and over again. Like, I meet these people from LinkedIn, and, not many of them, have the same vibe as they do on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just human nature a little bit, right? I think LinkedIn has always been a bit of a caste system. And that caste system is, just how big your following is. And, people are very transactional in nature. I think relationships in general, even between friends, can somewhat be about what you can do for me or what I can do for you. And so I think, that that's a microcosm of what you'll maybe see at those events with people that you meet. It's not a knock on anybody personally,
Yeah.
but I think it is just the reality of things. So Amir's earlier point, I think it becomes very transparent when people are authentic and they take you for who you are, and so that's refreshing. So the more I do these things, the more I try to kind of look at it, in that lens. I think it makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
And the more you get on with it, right, the more you kind of get used to it. So I think that's something that I'd also point out.
But here's the question. Then why can't there be transparency? Why can't there be transparency in doing those things? Say that you're looking for business or to do business, rather than pretend to be someone who you are not. That's what we see a lot of.
So I think by nature, you're probably going to see. I just think I don't think these platforms are necessarily built for true authenticity. You don't want to go on here and say like, "Hey, like I screwed up this huge data import for HubSpot. Learned a big lesson though." That's not going to get you clients, right? It's very much we're all in this sea fishing for clients for the most part. So I think authenticity can sometimes damage, and I think it just goes hand in hand.
Yeah, you need to know the border you don't want to cross, right? So, reminded me, I had a call this morning with a guy who was asking me, said he wants to build his personal brand. He already has, a reputation, those kind of things. But the thing happened in the last year and a half. He got diagnosed with schizophrenia, been dealing with that for 6 months. Now he's off the medics, everything. He's healthy, but he wants to talk about it. And he asked me, how do I approach that? And I'm like, okay, I cannot tell you right away. We need to go and dig deeper and to know what's the goal. What do you want to actually get out of the platform? Do you want to go and create documentaries about it? Do you want to raise awareness about mental health, all those kind of things, or do you want to sell the services? Like, because this is totally different, and it's you know it makes the level of authenticity and personality and private things that you want to share, go lower or upwards.
Yeah, I agree with that.
To Pasha's point, though, I don't think we necessarily need to share everything, right? Because I mean, I might mess up something, and I do, right? Everyone makes mistakes, and that's what makes us human. But I might share that with friends. Man, I screwed up, and I made a mistake, and this happened or that happened. Bad client, good client. We don't always need to put that on LinkedIn for the world to see. And again, that's symptomatic of social media, that people put everything, including, I mean, I'm not against dogs and stuff, but I love how some people will post a bunch of stuff that's not relevant. But again, that's fine. I'm not judging anyone, because um, people have their own ways of showing their selves on LinkedIn. But then it comes off as a bit tacky when you're looking for business. For example, Pasha has always been talking about GTM strategy or RevOps or marketing and HubSpot in a detailed way. I knew Pasha before he was talking about HubSpot, obviously, but whenever I would refer someone, it would probably be you, Nemanja, or Pasha, or Marcus H, who heads a Fountain for Enterprise. So it's a level of trust that you build up over time, and you got to show that you know the stuff before someone recommends you as well.
That's actually a good point, right? To you need to actually prove that you know your stuff. Actually, you don't on LinkedIn, and that's what makes it all silly, right? Because I've been recommended by people I have no idea who those people are. They don't follow me. They never reacted to anything. We never worked together, and I'm like, how the hell this guy knows that I will do the job, right? And then it makes me doubt the recommendation and also the company that came to me. Right? So it's kind of like this is the world we're living in, right? And especially on LinkedIn, like you never know who's watching, but you need to be aware, like kind of like that dark funnel that Chris Walker is talking about. But things are actually happening without our control, and we can just control what we share and what we do, right? So that's basically it from that perspective. Well, at least how I'm approaching it.
And even then, people infer what they want. You might say something in your words, but people will infer and want to infer something else, and then come out and quarrel about stuff. So that's kind of funny to me. But anyway.
I mean, we live in the post-truth era, right? So, I mean, I was having fun last night. There was basketball derby here, Partizan versus Red Star. We won, and then people just used AI and started using. There were interviews with the coach and with players before the game, and they just use AI and added the words and anything, and just people started sharing those things, and it's more and more of this stuff, and actually it reminded me of something that Amir that you said that we can talk about, creativity, AI, and all those things. So maybe we can make a switch to that.
Sure. Um, Again, we could talk about that for hours, but broadly, creativity is still human directed so far, because AI can't think. People say it can, but I mean, that's anthropomorph, giving an anthropomorphic identity to AI. It's not capable of thought. You feed in some data, and it will give you the best results from the data that it has. So, unlike a human which can think, AI can't. Um, but the problem is that current tools are so good and getting better every day. For example, the results that I had 2 years ago or even 1 year ago with image generation applications and stuff, they were okay-ish, and now they're nearly photorealistic. I mean, you can't tell many images from reality. At the same time, AI always will have artifacts and stuff that the human needs to step in. But and when it comes to creativity, we can guide these tools to have some semblance of our vision. It won't always be exact. You'll need to iterate multiple times to get a good result, and then you'll still need to edit and then get a better result that you want to showcase to the world. Sorry,
Yeah.
was that too much?
No. That's actually, just you were just stating the obvious, right? And that's why I'm saying it got me thinking. So we started using AI back in the days. Funky Marketing was actually an agency, and it was Jasper at the time. It was the first tool that used AI to kind of come up with the content, but we needed to have extremely detailed inputs and have overview, do the customer research, do our own research, have examples, all the things we want to get there. Then it gives us some kind of meat, and then we edit it again and check out all the facts and all the things. But basically, it allows us to write 50 long form articles per month with 2 people in a team. So that's actually a huge thing, and those articles were really great, and they still are, right? And they don't look like AI wrote them, because you have a person to guide everything, to do the research, to check out all the facts, everything. So it's not like the tool is right just doing everything. You just press the button and it does the thing, right? So from that perspective, it's basically something that allows you, helps you to do a better job faster. That's how I'm always saying it.
I love that, and I'll let Pasha speak about this. But I'll say this before everyone was using this. One of my friends told me about 5 or 6 years ago that check out Chat GPT, and it was GPT then, not Chat GPT. Chat GPT just came out and became the biggest thing. So people were in fact using OpenAI's GPT Playground feature to, and all of these companies, Jasper and Grammarly and others, were leveraging GPT to tweak and edit, and essentially they were middlemen leveraging large language models that other companies were sharing with them. So, and Pasha was one of the first people leveraging ChatGPT in a great way, because I still remember his post about jobs to be done frameworks. Like, who was doing that? So,
No, there's probably tons of people doing it, but there is a
way back.
lot, and I appreciate it. But yeah, no, I mean, I think like with that, it's real. Like I said, I think it's a force multiplier. But people that think that it's actually a time saver, I would challenge that, because there's so much upfront work to get the models in a place to where they can give you the output that you need. Um, Sometimes I feel like I spend more time just prepping my prompts and getting everything ready and together in order for it to really excel. But I would say if you're using Claude, like I use their projects a lot, because with projects you can obviously just group custom instructions, you can group files. So like for a client, I'll have all of our calls uploaded into Claude. So anytime I want to go back and, think about it strategically, or I'm preparing slides, or whatever it may be, I have all that information for that full project at my fingertips. I think it's really good at that. I mean, I think from like a marketing standpoint, I've used SEMrush, I've used Google Ads data, basically exported it out into a CSV and then pushed it in and had it run the analysis. But the analysis is coached by 15 years of experience with SEO and PPC. But for that, it's pretty damn good. So, and I know ChatGPT just pushed another update yesterday to its model. It's supposed to be better for creative writing. I still think AI sucks at writing, and try not to use it for that. But and I can also tell when somebody writes AI on LinkedIn, because it's got the emojis, it's got the structure. I mean, I've done it too, so it's just funny because I can see it without. I don't need to run it through a detector.
Yeah, yeah. And there are a few things that I'm usually using to test things out, and I usually tell it, write it raw. I want it to look raw. I want it to have a fire starter, like a bolt stance. I want it to go against the grain, actually to make 10% of my audience disagree with me. And when it comes to the hooks, I think that's where it helps the most. Because like I'll write a post, anything, and I usually tell it, help me out, start with a number or bold statement, or a window of time or specific type of action, or you know those kind of things actually help, because sometimes I'll write it out, but and maybe I will leave my own writing when I compare it to you, but I want to look at it to compare, right? Sometimes. But Pasha, you said one thing, and I think people don't talk about it that much. Like it helps you actually when you have the data, when you have calls with clients, with customers, all those kind of things. It helps you actually extract the customer journey way easier than if
Totally.
you do it manually, right? It helps you connect the dots and everything. And for me personally, when that started, it helped me out come up with the better structure of everything that I do, better processes, and when without it, I couldn't work with enterprise level companies, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, for that kind of stuff, it's amazing. I've used it for user stories. Yeah, I've used it for a lot of different things as it relates to my work, but it only works because I have an understanding. I have a base level understanding, and some obviously more than base level, but like if I'm running PPC through, right, or if I'm running like an SEO audit, not that I do those that much anymore, but sometimes I still draw on that. Like you're not going to really get the most out of it if you don't
Yeah.
understand the difference in like the intent behind keywords, right? So if I ask it, hey, like, tell me where the opportunities are in terms of driving more intent through, the use of transactional keywords versus informational, and give me a breakdown and percentage wise, that allows me to come through literally like 1,000 keywords in the matter of seconds. So in that case, it's crazy time saving. If I ingest, 2 years worth of Google Ads data, and I ask it to tell me like, hey, like give me the percentage of, I don't know, conversions from branded keywords versus non-branded. I mean, you can start to tell a story through the data very quickly.
Yeah.
And I don't think people probably, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think people talk about that enough.
Yeah, yeah, especially the thing now you reminded me of. I recently used it for a whole year of content pillars and a whole structure. We had a keywords, we had the data, everything, and I needed to come up with a content strategy. And actually, every 2 months we are writing a pillar with supporting articles around it and all this stuff. And it helps a lot because I actually feed him the data about the important keywords to which we want to rank, how does the competitor do, all the stuff, and it can help us make a better decision and come up with the right topics.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Sarah says that's a great point, putting the time in to organize and prompt engineer to get to the output quality. Yeah, I think that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I really like Claude. Even though you can do custom instructions in ChatGPT, it's not the same because I like structuring all my projects together.
Yeah, it's more, it sounds more like you're writing with a creating with a partner, let's
Oh,
call it
it's
like that.
100%. And I have it for personal productivity. I have it for running and like health scores. I have it for my own company's go to market. I have it for clients. Like I feel like I get a lot of it's literally the best, whatever, $20 I spend a month, 20, 30. It's kind of insane. It's that cheap.
And I love this. See, this is why this is so brilliant, right? Because AI is being used as a tool to help your own processes and creativity rather than. Um, and what I see sometimes is the opposite: is you feed a basic prompt or a basic question, and then essentially take garbage and then give it to the world, which is recognizable. So different. Here and Pasha, great use cases. I loved how you shared the other PPC and other use cases. For consulting, there was this Accenture report recently, and I've been also doing a lot of these things, where you know the companies that I worked with when I was at Nine Lenses, and we had big clients, and Accenture had big clients, and they would essentially have to sit down for days and develop a framework and a set of questions for the client, right? And now I can just feed in the criteria to an LLM. It will give me a framework, and then I can tweak that framework for a startup or a client based on what I want to analyze. So that's made it 20 hours of effort in 1 hour. So that's incredible to me.
Yeah, but remember the days. I go back to like 2015, for example, when to send an offer to a client, you need to do the analysis, you need to design the templates, then go with like now I'm the guy with Google Docs. I have everything in Google Docs, right? And I don't mind just sending the Google Doc because I have everything there. I don't care if it looks nice or no. I'm gonna take you there, right? So, but now I feed it to, for example, like Gamma AI. Like
I use it. I use it
I don't know
too.
if
Is that
it's
the presentation tool or?
yeah. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's a
that's what I
minute or whatever
used.
it is. It works so fast and it works so good that I'm amazed. Like now I have everything in a minute. I have it in a presentation, which is nice. And it's very. And I rarely even have a need to edit it, right?
Yeah.
I also tested it. This is kind of interesting. I was doing the training for the umbrella NGOs that work with handle the work with other NGOs inside the countries, and I wanted to test it out. So I asked it uh, to make a presentation about youth work in Estonia without anything, just one sentence. Give me a presentation about youth work in Estonia. It created it instantly, and I had the guys from Estonia here to check out the facts. Like they said it knew all the facts, everything was correct, everything was nice, and I'm like, damn. Before that, they were creating those kind of presentations in Canva, right? And
Yeah.
it's like the distance
Time
is
suck.
like this.
So it boils down to saving time, and this is again what we were talking about. Um, Industries and people being affected by these things. So even before AI video and these other tools became common, there have been a lot of layoffs in the gaming and VFX industries, right? But what's happened now is because the quality is, I mean, it's not that good. It's a long way before AI can create a movie for you. So you'll still need people to create snippets and edit them, and more. But people have found a convenient scapegoat in blaming AI, and they'll just say, you're using AI, AI sucks, or you stole all the data, and I mean, those are the typical tropes that artists or FX artists and others are resorting to. And I kind of feel for them because you invested so much time in learning something like doing a 3D model, and now there have been models available for the past year where you just have a prompt, or from an image you can get an entire 3D scene. So the technology is progressing. It's hard to keep pace with the level of progress that's happening because these things only keep improving. For example, people were doing masking. For example, all of the three of us are sitting here, and you'd need to mask people manually. And you don't need to do that. All you need to do is click on something called SAM, that segment anything. It will give you a breakdown of all the objects in a scene, and it will track them through video. It's crazy what's happening these days. So all of these things are at risk, and people do need to upskill. Is what I'm constantly saying. So it's time saving for a lot of people, but at the same time, it's worrisome for a lot of people too.
Yeah, there is one thing, and it always comes to my mind when people say, don't use AI, those kind of things, and talk about, for example, the copy on the company pages, right? The post, those kind of things. But doing just what Pasha said, you know, feeding it with the most basic prompt and posting on pages the very first interaction, it's better than the copy on 90% of the company pages that exist, right? So the barrier to enter is so low, and not many people actually see the opportunity in that and use it.
But I have a question for both of you in this case. It's a silly question. Don't you think that it's been to do with how SaaS has been functioning the past 10 years? Because you have got this bullshit copy that does not speak to people. It's just blah, 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 blah content and that same content has been fed into the GPTs as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's all trained on that. I mean, there's it'll spit out some bad advice from time to time, but it's probably just a symptom of the full internet, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's not only SaaS; it's basically B2B. I mean, when I go back and look at it, I started Funky Marketing in 2000 and 2019, starting to 2020. People were still talking about their target audience as the factory, as the building. Right? It was just 4 years ago. They didn't look at it as a group of people that everybody has a job to do, and you need to know how you are helping each one of them to be able to sell them by helping them solve the problem, right? And you know, we were making a progress, but it's been only 4 years, right? And things are still developing. Then we having I don't know, like revenue function coming into the companies that also made everything complicated. Then we always come up with the new expressions for the existing things. That's also one of the things. Then we argue about the data. Like, is it 95% of the people who are not in the market, or is this? But what does it mean 5% who are in the market? What does that mean? And we kind of argue around anything, and I think it kind of goes into the way that we are basically polluting the whole space, and it goes into the AI as well.
I mean, you can always
Yeah,
ask ChatGPT to write a post for LinkedIn as an influencer, and it turns out some good stuff. Not for me.
I mean, there was always a thing, like even with Jasper, like 3 years ago, there was a thing, write it like Gary Vee, or I don't
No,
know who else. It was the Octopus Prime, write it like an Octopus Prime. They had that feature, so you can actually make it sound like somebody.
interesting.
yeah,
I
that
mean,
is
yes,
interesting.
go on, Pasha, you're saying.
No, go ahead.
But where do you think sales and marketing is right now? I mean, here's a funny thing. I didn't want to say this, but I see some sales leaders have released books on AI, and there are CRO AI conferences going on, and I'm like, why? I mean, you don't really know what AI is. You're not in the tech space, and all the data science people or the machine learning people or the people who write these papers laugh at this stuff because you're kind of not making false claims, but you just don't know about this stuff. Writing a prompt is not really doing development level or research level work on AI. So it's funny to me that, how to do sales with AI, and I don't know what it speaks to.
Well, I mean, there are multiple things that we can talk around that. When it comes to, I see like sales AI agents are now a thing. Apparently, people talk about it, and it's so early for that, and I don't want to get into the topic. But you inspire me for one other thing that I see, and is the mistake people are making, and I want to bring that topic. Like, when they choose the category where they're gonna rank, right? Where they're gonna compete, should they involve the AI or no, right? And it comes down to the landing page, to the header of your website. Should you use AI, or should you talk about how you are solving a specific problem? And then, of course, if you involve AI, sure, it will help you with other stuff. Everybody needs to have it these days, in more or less, to use it. But I think a lot of folks are making a mistake by, putting AI over there and prioritizing it, and then they basically are not even aware of it, but they compete in a category with other AI tools instead of competing, for example, I don't know, like HR software. Yeah.
And I love that you said that. But here's the problem, Nimania, because I've been deeply looking at these topics the past 3 years, right? And I started to build a big network of AI people and and know a lot of people in the space. The thing is, what's happening right now is a lot of companies decided to pivot just because the market is so bad, and then you rebrand yourself as AI companies, which you are not really. A- and even with companies that are leveraging APIs or AI wrappers and then calling themselves AI companies, but you're not doing anything AI, you're just using existing tools to solve someone's problem. So why not focus on the problem instead, just like you said? And that's more important for people. But um, did I share that post with you or that image with you? That Oral B toothbrush now has AI, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, that's what does it do exactly? It brushes your teeth for you.
So that's what it is like.
Oh man, I don't know what it does. That's kind of interesting. Because it's more interesting to me because I was in that space. When I was working in the agency, like one of the huge what's the name? What's the name? My mind is not working. But one of the huge companies from Switzerland that produces toothbrushes and all those other stuff was our client. And now I'm thinking, what it does, because back in the days we couldn't even figure out how to promote the interdental toothbrushes. Because it means that you have a depth between your teeth, and you cannot say, if you do you actually have, gaps between your teeth, right? So we ask them to use um, toothsticks, right? And if they say yes, then we know, okay, then you probably need those ones. And now when it's AI, maybe, they will help them figure out what's the best way for them if they answer a couple of questions. I don't know, but is that AI? Is that the right usage, or it's just like we have the data and this is your solution based on that data?
I don't know. That's more a marketing thing. So, and you know what's funny is, I don't talk about marketing or sales, even though I know at a high level because I've been talking to both of you smart people and so many others, and it rubs off on me, right? So I know it at a high level, but I never talk about those things, and that's what I meant, right? That people who know nothing about these subjects suddenly have started becoming experts. There's one of my friends, Jesus Serrano. He's at Microsoft. He's a senior AI leader there. It's so funny, and he says that just putting expert in your, LinkedIn bio does not really make you an expert. You need to show that you know this stuff, and that's hilarious to me.
Huh,
I
I
mean,
didn't
we
know
are on
that.
the go on, Pash.
Just kidding.
I mean, even calling yourself an expert, I don't know, these days, I mean, that's
It's
actually
hard to be an expert in anything, man. I
yeah.
spend a lot of time in HubSpot. I still really cringe at calling myself an expert because you're only as good as your use case. And I think, in anything that you do, there's just only so many use cases you can be exposed to. I think that's why the whole I read on notes in Substack yesterday, some guy said 1 year of obsession beats 20 years of experience. And I was like, that's the biggest bullshit I've ever fucking heard in my life. 20 years of experience in a field versus 1 year in your cubbyhole studying something can never make up for the intrinsic value of all these situations, use cases, personalities, emotions, decisions. And I think that I see that a lot. It's like, hey, I've been like really, focused on this for like 3 years. That's fine. But I think to just wave experience out the door, even if it's not in necessarily like that primary field, is a very dangerous game to play. And I think it goes to the kind of youth obsession, like latest thing obsession that at least American society has. But I was like, that's laughable. That's utterly laughable.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I was hearing like going into that direction. I was hearing like some people were calling me out like, hey, this guy Nemanja, he um, every once in a while he changes and he is doing different things. And I'm like, since 2019, I'm doing only B2B marketing and talking only about that. I don't know what we're talking about. It was different, the shape of it, right? It was started as an agency. They are scaled down to a consulting, and I changed the packages. And of course, I learned, so I speak differently about all those things. But I didn't change what I do. I still do the same things that I did in 2019.
Yeah.
Right? And it's amazing.
I mean, human to be human is to change your ideas and perspectives based upon the knowledge that comes in and the events, right? It's like the same thing. I probably think a little bit differently than I did 3 years ago
Of
about,
course.
I think even with like the idea of like, I see this constant fight on LinkedIn of can you create demand? And like I think Chris Walker was so smart about tapping into a frustration. I think most B2B marketers felt that, you know, everything is now attributable. So that attribution basically totally stifled any creativity in marketing. And so, things are usually a reaction to other things. And I think today, how I looked at things probably maybe 3, 4 years ago, where I'm like, ungate everything. I probably wouldn't say that today, right? But does that mean I'm wrong or I don't know what I'm talking about? I would say that answer is probably no. And I would also say, just in relation to that argument, I don't know, man. I've worked with big clients, small clients, literally enterprise, all down to startup. I mean, I've never really had that conversation with a client, right? Like a client's never been like, hey, like I don't know, like do we create demand or do we do lead gen? Like it's generally related to a business problem or a pain point that they're feeling from the person above them. So I just think it can't be lost on everybody that LinkedIn is the 1% of the 1% fighting about 1% of things that most people don't give a flying fuck about, right? Like that's just the reality. And so that's probably how I would respond to that.
Yep. And I'll say like I think 80, even maybe 90% of the things you can see on LinkedIn comes from marketing and sales.
Yeah, man. It's funny. I was with my friend. She's in public health last night. She's pretty well known, like in that industry. Um, and she's like, I never see your stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I don't see your stuff. And I'm like, I probably would never see your stuff because I've trained my algorithm to only look at sales and marketing, right? But I would say it's like for her, she's pretty well known in the industry and she has 500 followers. Like I don't think when she's talking to Johns Hopkins, they're like, hey, like what's your following? Are you like an influencer for the vaccine? It's like, come on, man. It's only in sales and marketing that we have to do this.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't
also,
say, let me not say that. It's not that we
go.
have to do this, but it really seems like you almost do have to, right? Like, yes, you can get ahead in any of your careers, be it a dermatologist or a real estate agent, by pushing out content in a smart way to go from unaware to most aware. But it really is sales and marketing that I think you see this like, I don't know. I mean, just this like infighting about these very like complex topics, or almost nebulous topics, right? Like, I don't know.
I, who cares, right? I mean, at the end of the
I mean,
day,
it's good. Like, it's fun to like argue about, I guess. But like, I don't know. I'd see diatribes written sometimes on like just these concepts and topics that like, yes, that sounds great, but do your clients, like, does your customer really care about that? Like, do they really, is that answering their question? I mean, maybe it is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know everything. So, but it's funny to see.
Yeah, but I work a lot. I worked a lot. I don't know if I'm working at the moment with companies from industry, I don't know, from industrial, from some companies who are not tech, and
Yeah.
they exist outside of LinkedIn, outside of internet, if we want to go that way, right? And they have other problem, which is, they are not aware that they need to digitalize that reputation that they have built, right?
Yep.
Because at one moment somebody's going to punch them, in the stomach, and they will understand what's happening.
Yep.
So there are kind of two ways, but if you want to reach out to somebody over LinkedIn, you need to go over marketing and sales. So they need to be your kind of like your buddies that they will recommend you to the C level from those companies. So,
Yep.
and especially if we talk about, I don't know, like with I was talking with MJ, who was working with Refine Labs, and now it's in another company, and she was saying, they were Fire Trace, yeah, that was the company, and they sell to military and all those different stuff. So if somebody wants to go to her CEO on LinkedIn, it needs to go over her,
Yeah.
right? As somebody who
I
works in
used to
marketing.
work, yeah, I'm in DC, right? Like we used to work with the federal government. You weren't going to hit a five-star general on LinkedIn with a TikTok video, right? Like that's not the way
Exactly.
it worked. You would get programmatic media because it would show on govexec.com, and that was a good way to get brand touches. Now, if I would have said that 3 years ago on LinkedIn, and maybe I did once, I either wouldn't get a response or I would get chased off into the ether, right? Like again, that's what I'm saying. Like every use case is a different strategy for it and vice versa. So unless you've seen every use case, it's hard to speak in generalities, which is why I've always struggled to kind of give that higher level, like this is the strategic one, because there's so many things. I've seen a lot of those different things, right? Again, in DC in the federal market, yeah, like billboards, like print ads. I mean, that some of that stuff still works because again, like I said, it's where your audience is.
Yeah, very, very true. Very true. One last thing I want to ask both of you. We mentioned that kind of just touched it. What do you see when it comes to the state of the economy?
Hmm, it's interesting. I mean, I can go first, I guess, from a United States standpoint. I mean, there's a lot in flux, right? Like, I think obviously dependent. I mean, regardless of who your party is, there's obviously a response to economics in the election, and that carries across the whole globe because pretty much everybody that was in office got voted out, right? Incumbents got just completely taken out. So I think in America, obviously, inflation has been an issue over the last 2 years. That's 2, 3 years. That's a macro level trend. I personally think that tech has been in a recession for the last 2 to 3 years. I mean, I can send you Reddit articles where people are like, "Hey, I'm in marketing. I've been searching for a year, right, or more," and these are talented people. I also have those people in my network. Um, I think there's probably a group in the United States that owns stocks as a 401k, and they're pretty happy along with Bitcoin, right? If Trump comes in and he enacts tariffs, which I really don't think that he's going to do based upon if you really look at who he's going to appoint to the Treasury, they're looking at using tariffs more as a trading tool, or a tool to, horse trading, so to speak. But I think a lot remains to be seen. I think the more going back to the economy in the United States, I think is just a huge problem is the marketing industry, sales, ops. I have so many conversations where it's like, hey, my whole team got fired. Now it's just me. Or I was at this role 3 months. Now I'm no longer at this role. I'm a sports guy, right? Um, I If you like basketball, if you like football, if you like soccer, generally you're not going to have a rookie come into a team, learn a system, and then be expected to perform in 3 months, right? And if you keep having that rookie churn in 3 months, get a different coach, get a different system, what's the output? You're going to have shitty players. And so I think what I'm seeing, and I've seen for a while, which is probably why I'm a consultant now, is just this absolute human churn in sales and marketing where nobody is allowed to learn in a system. And like for me, it probably took 8 years till I really hit my stride in my career, you know? But I had 2, 3 year stints at companies where I could learn, grow, see what I liked, see what I didn't like. My fear is now you're not even seeing that, right? And the more you have people churn through in 3, 4 months, less people are going to give a fuck, right? And they're just going to go in, get their money, expect to get fired, rinse and repeat. I think that is the bigger problem, especially in tech. So call that a recession, call it what you will, but that to me is one of the biggest problems facing the industry.
That was brilliant, Pasha. I mean, I can so much in these few sentences. And this is what Nemanja has been speaking about, as I said earlier in the conversation, that there are layoffs happening, and people portray things in a very happy way on LinkedIn at times, and it's not the reality. We both know that. I've been seeing a lot of our sales friends and so many people in marketing, as you said, entire teams getting laid off. And I, am in contact with a few VCs, and I follow a lot of data points from Carta. Peter Walker is a great source. So the trend is still downward when it comes to VCs invest, and I'm speaking specifically about tech and SaaS here. It's a downward trend still. So it's not going to be an easy road, even for the next 6 months, probably at least. So in the tech industry, so what we were used to doing, and what people expected, big salaries of 2020 and stuff, that isn't happening right now. The easy money isn't happening because many companies are out of runway and they're just not hiring at this time.
Yeah, I mean, I ask mainly because I've been talking with a client, and we will be partners with some of the things. And it's in the moving. He works in the moving industry in the U.S., right? And like he says, like no matter who wins the election, it was a few weeks ago before the elections, right? We will have stabilization from February inside his industry, right? It's the moving industry and how it goes, and those kind of things. But what I'm seeing here, we are always behind the US. Is like inflation is still kicking off very much. Like, but government and everybody are pretending that it's not happening. And the food is never being more expensive. The also apartments, everything. And it's kind of like the same living here in Novi Sad in Serbia and in Barcelona. It comes down to the same prices, or Berlin, and it's amazing. That's why I'm asked. But Pasha, inspired me, and we're gonna use that next month for the next roundtable to talk about some of the stuff that we are all seeing inside the companies that kind of prevent them from growing, right? One of
Yeah.
those is the role of the senior people inside the companies. Do they have a role in-house? How does it go? Also, what I'm seeing is PR people taking over the marketing. Is it good or bad? How does that affect the performance and all of those
We do
stuff?
we do PR, so maybe it's good for me. Sorry,
Yeah,
just being
yeah.
honest.
So who knows? There are a lot of stuff over there. Also, the job market is, I don't know, kind of interesting. I've been testing it out these days, just so I can see what's out there, and I'm totally unemployable. You know,
Yeah, man.
I
I
know
feel the
that
same way
for a couple of
sometimes.
months, yeah. I mean, if they go and look at my profile, nobody will hire me because, first of all, I never worked in a corporation. Then I'm a senior, and I like to challenge other people's opinions. So it's not kind of like the ideal client, you know to comes in and actually take over the marketing or whatever it is. Perfect, guys. Any last words for today?
No, this has
I
been fun,
think,
man.
I mean, we could keep going. I know we three have so many things to talk about, but let's keep that for next time as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think now we are inspired with some of the topics that we can talk about. So and we covered a lot of different stuff in an hour. So perfect. Okay, guys. Anybody who's listening, go back now to the beginning of the episode, stop everything, and listen segment by segment. If you have any questions, reach out to Amir, reach out to Pasha, reach out to me. Um, Ask us. We're always happy to to help or direct you in some of the points. And also, as I always say, keep it funky until the next episode. Amir, Pasha, thank you for spending time with me and the audience here.
Awesome.
Appreciate you.